My sister humiliated my son in front of everyone, so I canceled the 3,500 Brazilian reals monthly rent I was paying for her salon and took my son to Disney. My sister told my 8-year-old son in front of everyone, "Honey, the new toys are for the children who live here." Some people laughed. I calmly stood up and took my son's hand. "Let's go, love." And yes, a trip to Orlando the following week. VIP tickets to all the parks, 5-star hotel with a view of the fireworks. $18,000 in total. My sister panicked. "How can you afford this?" I replied, "Easy. I stopped paying the rent for your beauty salon." When my sister Mariana pulled the gift box away from my son Gabriel and said, "Honey, the new toys are for the children who live here," I was already about to knock the birthday cake onto the floor. "Honey," she said, loud enough for the entire room to hear. It was my niece Sophia's 6th birthday party. My parents' house was packed. Aunts, uncles, cousins, family friends. Mariana had organized an entire table with presents wrapped in shiny pink and gold paper. Expensive toys. Talking dolls, children's makeup sets, even a pink tablet with a unicorn case. Gabriel was only 8 years old. He was standing there in that Spider-Man t-shirt I had washed for the 3rd time that week because it was his favorite. His fingers brushed the edge of a box, a remote control car that lit up and made sounds. His eyes sparkled in that way only children can, pure and unfiltered. And then Mariana slid the box away. It wasn't an abrupt movement. It was deliberate. Smooth, even. As if she were taking something away from someone who didn't have permission to touch it. "These are for Sophia and the cousins who live nearby," she continued, smiling at the other children around. "Gabriel, you can play with the toys in the living room box, okay?" The living room box. That faded green plastic box full of broken toys that had been sitting in the corner of my parents' house since I was a child. Dolls without arms. Cars without wheels. Game pieces that no one knew how to assemble anymore. Did someone laugh? My uncle Roberto let out a muffled laugh. That kind of laugh from someone who knows they shouldn't laugh, but also doesn't want to be the only one who didn't laugh. My mother stared fixedly at the glass of soda in her hand. My father continued talking with his brother-in-law, pretending he hadn't heard. Gabriel froze. His hands still in the air, his fingers still curved around the empty space where the car had been. His ears turned red first. Then his eyes turned to the floor, to the fluffy carpet that my mother only used on special occasions. He didn't argue. He didn't say, "But I'm family too." He just slowly backed away, his hands in the pockets of his denim shorts, and went to sit on the sofa. Alone. While the other children screamed and tore wrapping paper around the table. I felt it. That hot wave behind my eyes. The feeling of my chest tightening, as if a rope in my lungs was being pulled non-stop, squeezing everything. My first instinct was to get up and flip the table. Throw those expensive presents on the floor. Scream until everyone in that room had to look at themselves. Instead, I became very quiet. Watching. Calculating. Mariana laughed. That high-pitched, performative laugh I had known since childhood. The laugh she used when she wanted everyone to know she was in control. She pushed the presents closer to Sophia and the other children. "Gabriel, go get a piece of cake," she said, as if she were being generous. "There's plenty in the kitchen." Gabriel nodded quickly. "Okay, Auntie." His voice came out low. Too low for 8 years old. He looked around the room waiting for anyone to say something. My mother opened her mouth for a second, but then closed it. My father was busy taking photos of Sophia with the new tablet. I pushed my chair back. The sound scraped loudly on the ceramic floor. "Gabriel," I said, my voice calmer than what I was feeling inside. "Get your things, love." He blinked rapidly, looking at me with those huge brown eyes. "Mom, we're leaving." I extended my hand. No one said anything at first. Then my father raised his head, the phone camera still pointed at Sophia. "Anna, calm down. We just sang happy birthday." I didn't look at him. "Gabriel," I repeated more firmly. Mariana let out that laugh again. That high-pitched sound I had known for years as the target of everything. "Are you really leaving because of toys?" I squeezed Gabriel's hand when he approached. His fingers were sweaty and trembling. "We're leaving because I don't let anyone treat my son like this." Gabriel stood up slowly. He didn't look at anyone. He just kept his eyes fixed on our joined hands, as if it were the only solid thing in the room. I led him to the exit. Through the room full of pink balloons, past the family portraits hanging on the wall where Gabriel only appears in one photo cropped at the edge, half hidden behind my shoulder. The smell of chocolate cake and soda followed us down the hallway. No one tried to stop us. I opened the front door. The hot March air hit my face like a slap I really needed, and I walked out onto the sidewalk with my son. The laughter started up again inside. I could hear it. My name is Anna. I'm 34 years old. I live in Sao Paulo, South Zone. I work as a freelance graphic designer, logos, visual identities, social media campaigns. I also do some digital illustration work when the opportunity arises. It's unstable work sometimes, but it gives me freedom. And in the last 3 years, that freedom has meant being able to be present for Gabriel. I'm also a single mother. Gabriel is 8 years old. He likes superheroes, especially Spider-Man. He loves to draw, just like me. He spends hours with paper and colored pencils creating comic books where he's the protagonist saving the world. He likes pasta with butter, no sauce because sauce is too messy, according to him, and watching YouTube videos about how to draw anime characters. Most weeks, it's just the two of us in a 2-bedroom apartment in an old building without an elevator. Creaky stairs, noisy neighbors, but with a large window in the living room that lets in sunlight in the morning. It's perfect for Gabriel to do his homework at the living room table while I work on the laptop next to him. His father, my ex-husband Raphael, left the scene when Gabriel was 3 years old. He shows up from time to time birthdays, Christmas, when guilt weighs on him. He pays child support irregularly. He promised to pick up Gabriel last month to spend the weekend and didn't show up. Gabriel waited at the window for 2 hours, his backpack ready on the sofa. It's not perfect, but it's our peace. And peace is something I learned not to underestimate. My family, on the other hand, is not peaceful at all. Mariana is my sister, 4 years older. Married to Bruno, a businessman owner of a small chain of gyms. 2 children, Sophia, 6, and Theo, 4. She quit her teaching career when Sophia was born and never went back. My priority is my children, she always says, with that tone that implies that any mother who works outside the home is failing. They live in a large house in a gated community. 3 bedrooms, pool, barbecue area, yard with a swing. The kind of house that appears in margarine commercials. I earn well. Last year, I made 120 Brazilian reals. 000 thanks to some big clients, a tech startup that needed complete rebranding, and an influencer who hired me to create the entire visual identity for her course. I'm not rich, but I'm comfortable. I have money saved. I invest in CDBs. I have an emergency fund. And yes, occasionally I allow myself luxuries like taking Gabriel to eat at the Japanese restaurant he loves, or buying those new sneakers he wanted because the old ones were too tight. In my family, this turned me into a kind of private bank. It started small, a few hundred here and there. When Mariana and Bruno were tight and needed to pay for the children's private school. When my father's car broke down well before he could save up to fix it. When my mother needed a dentist and the insurance didn't cover it. Then came the beauty salon. 3 years ago, Mariana decided she wanted to have something of her own. She was always good with hair and makeup. She did her friends, helped at weddings. So she had the idea of opening a small salon. Something intimate, boutique, as she called it. The problem is that Bruno had just invested heavily in expanding the gyms. They didn't have startup capital. And the bank asked for guarantors. Mariana called me crying. Anna, I just need help to get started. Then I'll pay everything back. I did the math in my head as I would for a client. Costs, risks, potential return. I could help. It would be tight for a while, but I could. How much do you need? I asked. The rent for the location is 3,500 Brazilian reals per month. If you could cover that for the first few months, just until the salon starts making a profit. It was supposed to be 6 months. Maybe a year at most. It was 3 years. Every 5th of the month, 3,500 Brazilian reals left my checking account and went directly to the rent bill for Mariana's salon. I barely looked at it anymore after the first year. It just became another item on the list of fixed expenses. Like the rent for my apartment, Gabriel's school, electricity, and internet bills. My parents knew. They saw it as proof that I had finally become responsible. "You're helping your sister. That's what being family means," my mother would say approvingly. In return, they gave me access. Not respect. Not genuine affection for my son. Just access. We were invited to everything. Easter, birthdays, Sunday lunches, barbecues at Mariana's condominium. Gabriel always came with me. I wanted him to know his cousins, his grandparents, to be part of a big, noisy, present family. Everything I didn't have when my marriage ended, and I found myself alone with a 3-year-old baby. But before Sophia's birthday, there were already cracks I ignored. Like when Gabriel turned 6 and all the cousins got new bicycles from the grandparents. Aluminum bicycles, with gears, matching helmets. While Gabriel opened a modeling clay kit from the clearance sale. 2 colors missing. We didn't want it to get lost in the confusion, my mother explained when I looked at the 3 new bicycles gleaming in the yard. Or last spring, when my mother took Sophia and Theo to the theme park. Spent the whole day there. Posted photos on Facebook. The children with Mickey ears, eating popcorn, smiling on the kiddie roller coaster. The caption said, "Perfect day with my little grandkids." Gabriel was sitting next to me on the sofa when he saw it. His face went quiet, in that way children do when they're trying not to cry. He counted slowly. 1, 2 cousins. Little grandkids, he whispered. "But I'm her grandchild too." "Oh," I said, forcing a smile. "I guess Grandma forgot to tell you about this one, love." He laughed. That forced, fake laugh that was too mature for a 6-year-old boy. I convinced myself they were just inattentive, not cruel. That it wasn't on purpose. That if I kept helping financially, if I kept being part of the family, they would eventually see Gabriel as one of their own. I should have known better. We returned home that Saturday afternoon in almost complete silence. Gabriel sitting in the back seat of the car, the seatbelt diagonally across his chest, his hands in his pockets. It was 5 p.m. The sun was still high, that golden late afternoon light that makes everything seem unreal. He looked out the window as if he were counting something only he could see. I replayed the scene several times. Mariana's hand casually pushing the box away. The way my father didn't look up. How my mother's mouth tightened but didn't open. It wasn't a slip-up. It wasn't a strange joke that went unnoticed. It was a line in the sand. "Mom," Gabriel said quietly. "Yes, love. I'm hungry." Of course he was. He had eaten half a piece of cake and nothing else. He hadn't even touched the snacks that were scattered across the table. "We'll grab something on the way," I said. "What do you want?" He shrugged. "Doesn't matter." I stopped at the first drive-thru we passed. McDonald's. I ordered him a Happy Meal, with nuggets and extra fries. And yes, with ice cream for dessert. He didn't say anything until the bag was in his lap. "Mom," he said, fiddling with the juice straw. "Yes. Did I do something wrong?" His voice was small. "Doesn't Aunt Mariana like me?" My hands gripped the steering wheel. "You didn't do anything wrong," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Sometimes adults forget how to be kind. It's not your fault." He was silent for a second. The sound of the bag's paper was the only noise in the car. "Her kids are more family than me, right?" he said. That weighed more than anything my sister had said. Because it wasn't the first time Gabriel had to do these calculations. Presents, photos, outings. He had been reading the data for years. In my work, we talk about conversion signals. Small actions that add up to a decision. Clicks, views, engagement. Looking back, my family had been sending signals for a long time. Gabriel counted. He always counted. 3 cousins with new bicycles. Him with clay. 2 cousins at the theme park. Him at home. Expensive presents under the Christmas tree at the grandparents' house. Tablets, video games, brand name clothes. Gabriel with a coloring book and a box of crayons. That year, my parents forgot Gabriel's birthday. Completely. Not even a message. But they remembered to charge me about being late to contribute to the collective gift for my mother's birthday. The way Mariana used to introduce him to strangers. "This is Gabriel, Anna's son." But she introduced her own children as my treasures. The time my father commented in front of Gabriel after a discussion about child support, "At least Mariana's kids have a present father, right?" Small cuts. Easy to ignore one by one. Easy to excuse when there's money flowing in the opposite direction. And years of history tying you to people who think paying their bills is the same as loving them. 3 months before that birthday, Mariana called me about the salon. "Anna, Bruno wants to expand to a second location," she said, as if she were asking for coffee. "Since you're already helping with the rent, we thought maybe you could be an investor partner in the new space." "No," I said, without even checking my financial spreadsheet. This surprised us. I rarely said no to her. She laughed, insecurely. "No as in not now, or no as in? As in I've been sending you 3,500 Brazilian reals every month for 3 years. I'm not going to tie my name and my money to an expansion that you can't even afford on your own." She cooled down so quickly I could feel it through the phone. "Wow, okay. You don't need to be rude," she said. "Some people think they're better than the rest of us just because they work from home on a computer." After that, it got rougher. Small comments, but sharp. "Gabriel talks a lot, doesn't he?" Mariana said once during a Sunday lunch. "I think it happens when the mother works too much and the child has no one proper to talk to." Or when Gabriel answered a question about dinosaurs that my father asked, Mariana rolled her eyes and muttered, "Internet child. Knows everything, lives nothing." I let it pass. That's what I told myself. It's just her way. She's stressed about the salon. She didn't mean it that way. But the toys, the deliberate line of real family, wasn't an accident. It was a calculated move. In front of the children, my parents, the entire extended family, she wanted everyone to see the hierarchy. Her children were the real grandchildren. The loved ones. The priorities. Gabriel was the stranger. The guest. The temporary one. And they laughed. That was the part that kept me up that night. After Gabriel finally fell asleep, sad, tired, but finally satisfied with nuggets and ice cream, I sat on the sofa with my laptop open. A half-finished logo project on one side of the screen, and my bank account on the other. Columns of numbers blinked at me. Income. Expenses. Paid projects. Pending projects. Automatic payment for salon rent. 3,500 Brazilian reals. 3,500 Brazilian reals. 3,500 Brazilian reals. 3,500 Brazilian reals. 36 lines in an organized vertical. Going back 3 years. Since Mariana opened the salon. Since she just needed help to get started. I scrolled to the scheduled payment section. Next payment, March 5th. 3,500 Brazilian reals. Mariana's salon rent. Automatic transfer. My cursor hovered over the edit button. It wasn't about toys. It wasn't about a gift box. It was about the fact that I was financing the roof over the heads of people who had just told my son out loud that he didn't belong. They were happy to accept my money. They just never accepted my son. I clicked Edit. Then I clicked Cancel Recurring Payment. A confirmation box appeared. "Are you sure you want to cancel this payment?" I sat there, listening to the hum of the refrigerator. The muffled sound of someone watching TV in the apartment upstairs. Gabriel's soft breathing sleeping in the next room. My heart was beating faster than before presenting a big project to a client. "Yes," I whispered. And I clicked Confirm. A confirmation email arrived in my inbox. 10:47 p.m. Your recurring payment for Mariana's salon rent has been canceled. For 3 minutes, I kept looking at it. Then, out of habit, I opened the spreadsheet I used to track my personal finances. Each client had their own tab. Each month had its own column. It looked like any of the reports I put together for work. But this was my life. Line by line. I deleted Mariana's rent. 3,500 Brazilian reals for the next 12 months. And I watched the projected balance adjust. I wasn't cutting her payment off in an angry text message. I wasn't making threats I didn't intend to keep. I was doing what I do best. Changing the budget. And letting the numbers tell the story. The extra money each month seemed big. Bigger than I had allowed myself to see while on autopilot of helping family. I created a new item on the spreadsheet. Experiences with Gabriel, 3,000 Brazilian reals per month. Not the full 3,500 Brazilian reals. I still had goals. savings, retirement, emergencies. But 3,000 Brazilian reals per month. Reserved just for us. This changed everything. I opened another tab. Airline tickets. I had seen an ad earlier that day. Ironically, from one of my own clients. A travel agency. Used in their retargeting campaigns. A resort in Orlando. A bright, artificial photo of a mother and son in front of Disney's castle, Mickey ears on their heads. Gabriel had paused YouTube to look when it came on. It looks fake, he said. We'll never go to a place like that, right, Mom? My heart had tightened. One day, love. One day we will. I opened the packages. Prices varied as I changed dates. I filtered by direct flights. Then by, can I do this without destroying my emergency savings? And there it was. A 7-day trip. Leaving next Friday. 2 tickets. 4,200 Brazilian reals. Good hotel near the parks. 5,800 Brazilian reals. Tickets for the 4 main Disney parks. 3,800 Brazilian reals. VIP tickets that skip lines. Another 2,200 Brazilian reals. Meals, souvenirs, extras. I estimated another 2,000 Brazilian reals. Approximate total, 18,000 Brazilian reals. Or, putting it another way, about 5 months of someone else's rent. For a salon that wasn't even mine. My thumb hovered over the trackpad. It felt strange. I authorized 20,000 Brazilian reals, 30,000 Brazilian reals in advertising campaigns for clients without blinking. But spending 18,000 Brazilian reals on me and my son seemed huge. Then I imagined Gabriel, backing away from the gift table, while my sister pushed toys away and left. I imagined years of silent exclusion, of smaller gifts, of forgotten invitations, of photos where he was cropped out or simply wasn't there. And I thought, if I can throw money at people who won't even properly feed my son at a party, I might as well throw money at a week where he's the center of the universe. My card details were already auto-filled on the site. I clicked book. The confirmation arrived in my email a second later. I didn't tell Gabriel that night. I wanted to see his face in the morning, when he wasn't tired and hurt. He walked into the kitchen at 8 a.m. Messy hair, Spider-Man pajamas, the ones that were already getting short in the legs. He rubbed his eyes and sat in the chair at the table. "Good morning, love," I said, sliding a plate of pancakes in front of him. I even tried to make them Mickey-shaped with the pan. It looked more like a deformed potato, but he smiled anyway. "Good morning, Mom." I waited for him to take the first bite. Then I sat next to him. "Gab, I have a question for you." He chewed slowly, looking at me with those curious eyes. "What question?" "If you could go anywhere with me for a whole week. No school, no work, no family. Just you and me. Where would you like to go?" He blinked. Swallowed. Put his fork on the plate. "Anywhere?" he asked, his voice full of careful disbelief, as if he were afraid to believe. "Anywhere." He thought for exactly 3 seconds. I counted. "Disney," he said. "That place from the commercial. With the castle and Mickey ears." I smiled. That smile that comes from within, that you can't hold back. "Good choice." I turned my laptop toward him. The booking confirmation was open on the screen. Flights. Hotel. Tickets. Everything confirmed. His eyes widened. His mouth opened. He looked at the screen, then at me, then at the screen again. "Wait," he said, his voice rising an octave. "Is this real?" "It's real. We leave Friday after school. You'll miss a few days of school next week, but I already told your teacher." For a moment, he was completely still, processing, trying to understand if this was real or if it was a cruel prank. Then he jumped out of the chair and ran to hug me. So hard he almost knocked over my coffee. "Mom. Seriously? Disney? For real? For real, my love." He pulled back, his hands on my shoulders, his eyes shining in a way I hadn't seen in months. "Are we going to see the castle? And the characters? Can I take a picture with Spider-Man?" "All of that. And more." "Best day of my life," he said. And then lower, almost whispering, "Thank you, Mom." My throat tightened. "You don't need to thank me. You deserve this." And he deserved it. God, how he deserved it. I didn't call my family. I didn't send a dramatic message to the group. I continued with the week normally. I worked on campaigns, closed projects, packed bags. The only thing I did, besides booking the trip and canceling the rent payment, was to move the contact notifications from my parents and Mariana to a separate folder called Noise, so I wouldn't see their messages appear by accident. We flew on Friday afternoon. Direct flight, Sao Paulo to Orlando. 3.5 hours. Gabriel touched every button on the seat, adjusted the backrest up and down, asked the flight attendant for orange juice 3 times just because he could. "This is crazy, Mom," he whispered every time something new happened. When the plane took off and his stomach turned, he laughed. Best feeling in the world. In Orlando, everything seemed noisy and bright in the right way. The air was hot and humid. The hotel smelled like chlorine and waffles. Gabriel spent hours in the pool, diving, cannonballing, shouting, "Mom, watch this," every 30 seconds. On the first day at the park, we woke up at 6 a.m. Gabriel was electric. He put on the new Spider-Man t-shirt I had bought especially for the trip. We had breakfast at the hotel: eggs, bacon, pancakes, juice. He ate triple what he normally eats. On the bus on the way to Magic Kingdom, he was glued to the window. "Mom, do you see? Is that the castle? Can you see from here?" When we entered the park and he saw the castle up close for the first time, he stopped. Simply stopped in the middle of Main Street, looking up. Mouth open. "It's giant," he whispered. "It's real. It's real." He held my hand. Not because he was scared or insecure, but because he was too happy and needed to share it with someone. We rode all the roller coasters he was tall enough for. We took pictures with Mickey, with Goofy, with the princesses. Gabriel was shy in front of the characters, but afterward he smiled so much his cheeks hurt. We ate churros, popcorn, Mickey ice cream. He didn't complain once about being tired, even after walking all day. At night, we watched the fireworks in front of the castle. Gabriel was sitting on my shoulders, even though he was too big for that, but I held on tight. And when the fireworks exploded in the sky to the sound of Disney music, he screamed along with all the other children. "This was the best day of my life," he said when we got back to the hotel, feet aching, body tired, but eyes still shining. "We have 6 more days, love." "Seriously?" He smiled. "Then there will be 6 best days of my life." On the 3rd day, we were lying in hammocks between 2 palm trees next to the hotel pool. It was mid-afternoon. The sun was strong. Children were screaming and playing in the water. A couple walked by with colorful drinks in their hands. Gabriel was quiet, swaying slowly in the hammock. I thought he had fallen asleep. Then he spoke. "Mom." "Yes. Is it bad that I don't miss them?" I knew who he was talking about. The cousins, the grandparents, Mariana. The whole family unit that should love us, but that always made us feel like visitors. "No, love," I said, looking at the palm leaves swaying in the wind. "It's not bad. It just means you're really having fun. The way you should." He sighed slowly, as if he were filing this away, saving it to remember later. "I like it when it's just you and me," he said. "We don't have to be quiet or pretend we're not hungry, or wait for others to eat first." My chest tightened. "I like it too, Gab. It's my favorite way to be. Can we do this more often? It doesn't have to be Disney every time, but like, just the 2 of us. Always, I promised. Whenever you want." He smiled. And then he really fell asleep, his hand hanging out of the hammock, his breathing slow and calm. I stayed there, looking at him. My son. My beautiful boy who deserved the whole world, but who was always treated as if it were too much to ask to be included. Not anymore. Never again. We arrived home the following Saturday. Sunburned, tired, happy. In that clean, satisfied way that only real vacations provide. We unpacked slowly. Gabriel organized all the souvenirs in his room: Mickey ears, Spider-Man mug, Stitch plushie, some pins we collected at the parks. He put everything on a special shelf, like trophies. On Sunday, while he was watching TV, I opened my phone. I had avoided looking at the noise folder all week. But now, curiosity and a bit of malice made me click. 47 unread messages. I started scrolling. Mariana, March 6, 11:14 p.m. Anna, what's going on? The salon rent wasn't paid. The landlord called me demanding payment. Mariana, March 7th, 8:32 a.m. Anna, please answer me. This is serious. We could lose the location. My mother, March 7th, 10:15 a.m. Anna, your sister is desperate. Call her. Mariana, March 7th, 2:47 p.m. I can't believe you're ignoring me. After everything we've done for you. My father, March 8th, 9:02 a.m. Anna, this is no way to treat family. Call your sister. Mariana, March 9th, 8:31 p.m. Bruno had to take money from the gym account to pay the rent. Do you know how much this hurts us? Selfish. And then, on the 10th, Mariana started posting on Instagram photos of the salon. Difficult times, but God will provide. A selfie of her looking tired. When you discover who really cares about you. And finally, the one that made me laugh, a generic sunset photo with the caption "Family should support, not abandon. But will overcome with faith and hard work, red heart, folded hands." I didn't respond to any messages. I just kept scrolling. My mother, March 11th, 6:23 p.m. Anna, at least give some explanation. Mariana is suffering. Mariana, March 11th, 10:56 p.m. You were always too proud. You think you're better than everyone just because you work with computers. Then on Sunday, March 12th, I posted a photo of Gabriel with diving goggles, smiling at the hotel pool. Another of him in front of the castle, Mickey ears on his head, arms open as if he were hugging the world. A third of the two of us on Space Mountain, the camera capturing our huge smiles during the descent. Simple caption, an unforgettable week with my favorite boy. Sometimes family is who you choose to spend your time with. Castle sparkles. My phone rang 2 minutes later. Mariana. I let it ring once. Twice. Then I answered. What the hell, Anna? She didn't even say hi. Disney? A whole week at Disney. Hi, Mariana, I said calmly. How are you? How am I? How am I? Her voice was high-pitched, almost hysterical. Todd just saw your photos and is now freaking out. Where did this money come from? You told me you couldn't help me with the expansion, but you can spend I don't know how many thousands on Disney. It's not complicated, I said, leaning on the kitchen counter. I stopped paying the rent for your salon. Silence. Literal silence. I could hear the TV in the background at her house. The sound of some child screaming. But nothing from her. Mariana, I said. Are you there? You can't just stop, she finally said, her voice trembling. We built our budget on top of that. Anna, you promised to help until we stabilized. 3 years. I said. I helped for 3 years. That was well beyond, until stabilizing. And you know what I realized? You're never going to stabilize as long as you have someone paying your bills. That's not fair. She was crying now. Or pretending to cry. It was hard to tell. You're my sister. Family helps family. Exactly, I said, my voice still calm but firmer. Family helps family. So tell me, Mariana, when was the last time you helped my son feel like part of the family? What are you talking about? The toys. At Sophia's birthday. When you pushed the presents away from him and said they were only for children who live nearby. That. She let out an incredulous laugh. You're doing this because of a joke? It wasn't a joke, I said. It was humiliating. In front of everyone. And no one said anything. Not you, not mom, not dad. You let an 8-year-old boy sit there and feel like he doesn't belong. You're overreacting. Gabriel knows we love him. No, Mariana. He doesn't know. Because you never showed it. He counts, you know? Counts how many presents the cousins get versus what he gets. Counts how many times he's forgotten on outings. Sees the photos where he's not in them, but the caption says, all the grandchildren. She was quiet for a moment. Look, I'm sorry if Gabriel felt excluded. But that doesn't justify you destroying my business. I'm not destroying anything, I said. I just stopped paying for it. Mariana, you've had a salon for 3 years. If it's still not making enough profit to pay its own rent, maybe the problem isn't lack of my money. Maybe it's the business model. You don't understand anything about entrepreneurship. I've been a freelancer for 8 years. I understand exactly about entrepreneurship. And I understand about not living above my means. So that's it? She asked, her voice bitter. You're going to punish me because I didn't treat your son like a prince? No, I said. I'm going to invest in who really matters. In my son. In our experiences. In our life. You're going to have to figure out how to pay your own bills. Mom is going to freak out about this. Let her freak out, I said. It's not my problem. Before she could respond, I hung up. My hands were shaking. Not from fear or regret, but from something like freedom. I blocked her number. Then I blocked my mother. My father. The family group on WhatsApp. Gabriel appeared in the kitchen doorway, holding the Stitch plushie. Is everything okay, Mom? Everything's great, love, I said, and it was true. Everything's perfectly fine. The consequences started quickly. My cousin Juliana, the only reasonable person in that family, sent me a direct message. Juliana, March 13th. Hi, Anna. Your mom is saying you abandoned Mariana. But Mariana posted some strange things and then I saw your Disney photos. What's going on? I sighed. Juliana had always been nice. She didn't live nearby, so she only saw the family on special occasions. But she had always been kind to Gabriel. Me. Mariana humiliated Gabriel at Sophia's birthday. In front of everyone. I paid the rent for her salon for 3 years. I decided that money is better invested in my son. Juliana. Jesus. 3 years? Anna, I didn't even know that. And yes, I heard about the toy thing. Aunt Celia commented, but made it seem like it was silly. Me. It wasn't silly. It was cruel. Juliana. I believe you. Honestly? I always thought Mariana treated Gabriel differently. But since I live far away, I thought I was imagining it. Me. You weren't imagining it. Juliana. I know it doesn't mean much, but I think you did the right thing. Gabriel deserves more than emotional crumbs. That caught me by surprise. Tears burned in my eyes. Me. It does mean something. A lot. Thank you, Juliana. You weren't invited to Christmas, were you? Me. No. But it's okay. We'll have our own Christmas. Juliana. Can I come? I laughed. Really laughed. Me. Of course you can. And that's how that year's Christmas began to take shape. Not at my parents' house, with perfect decoration and tension disguised as tradition, but at our house. Our way. The following weeks were strange in a liberating way. My inbox was silent. No messages asking for money, no demands disguised as family concern. Just work, projects, and the simple good routine that Gabriel and I had built. But the peace didn't last long. In April, 2 weeks before Easter, my mother showed up at my apartment door. Without warning. She simply rang the doorbell at 10 a.m. on a Saturday. Gabriel was in his room playing video games. I was in the living room, working on a logo for a new client. When I opened the door and saw my mother standing there with that martyr expression she wore so well, my stomach turned. Hi, Mom, I said, not moving from the door. Are you going to leave me in the hallway? She asked, her voice loaded with reproach. I sighed and made space. She entered, looking around as if she were inspecting. Her eyes paused on the new photos I had put on the wall, Gabriel at Disney, the two of us at the beach, him holding the Stitch plushie. The house is different, she said. It's more ours, I replied. She sat on the sofa without being invited. She put her purse on her lap, that defensive gesture she always made when she was about to say something unpleasant but thought it was for my own good. Anna, we need to talk about the situation with your sister. There's no situation, I said, staying standing. I canceled a payment that should never have become permanent. That's it. You know it's not just that. She looked at me with those eyes that used to make me feel guilty when I was a child. Mariana is suffering. The salon almost closed. She had to fire an employee. The children are feeling the tension at home. Too bad, I said, and there was no sarcasm in my voice. It was sincere. But it's not my responsibility anymore. How can you say that? She's your sister. And Gabriel is my son. My voice rose a little. My son, who she humiliated in front of everyone. Who you all ignored and treated like a second-class citizen for years. While I paid her bills. My mother pressed her lips together. That was a misunderstanding. Mariana already apologized. No, she didn't, I said, crossing my arms. She didn't apologize to me or to Gabriel. She just got angry because I stopped being her bank. You're being selfish, Anna. Her voice was sharp now. You've always been like this. Since you separated from Raphael, you've been bitter. You think the world owes you something. I laughed. It was a short, dry laugh without humor. Selfish? Mom, I paid Mariana's salon rent for 3 years. 3 years. 50,000 reis. Do you know how many times she thanked me? How much time you spent with Gabriel, trying to make him feel part of the family? 0. The answer is 0. That's not true. We love Gabriel. You forgot his birthday last year, I said, my voice trembling now. Completely. Not even a message. But you remembered to charge me money for the collective gift for your birthday. You took the other grandchildren to the park and forgot him. You gave expensive bicycles to everyone, and for him, old Clay. Don't come tell me you love him. You tolerate him. When it's convenient. My mother went pale. You're distorting things. I'm telling the truth. And the truth hurts, doesn't it? She stood up, grabbing her purse tightly. You're going to regret this, Anna. Family is all we have. When you need us, we won't be here. Great, I said, opening the door. Because I don't need you. And neither does Gabriel. She left without looking back. She slammed the door. I stood there, shaking, my heart racing, but strangely at peace. Gabriel appeared in the hallway. Was that Grandma? It was, I said. She left quickly. She did. I crouched in front of him. Gab, you know I love you, right? More than anything in the world. He nodded. I know, Mom. And you know we don't need them to be happy, right? He hugged me. I know. We have each other. Always, I whispered into his hair. May arrived and brought a surprise. I was at the supermarket with Gabriel, buying things for dinner, when I bumped into Bruno, Mariana's husband. Literally bumped. My cart hit his in the dairy section. Sorry, I started and then I saw who it was. Bruno looked equally surprised. And embarrassed. Anna. Hi. Hi, I said, pulling my cart back. He looked at Gabriel, who was distracted choosing yogurts. Gabriel's gotten big, hasn't he? He has, I said, my voice neutral. There was an uncomfortable silence. Bruno scratched his neck. Look, Anna. I know things are tense between you and Mariana. Tense is a delicate way to put it, I said. He sighed. I just wanted you to know that. I understand. What you did. Why you did it. This caught me by surprise. You understand? I was there at Sophia's birthday, he said, low, looking around to make sure no one was listening. I saw what Mariana did, and I didn't do anything to stop it. I was a coward. So I'm sorry. For Gabriel. And for you. I didn't expect this. Of all people, Bruno was the last one I thought would have this self-awareness. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Because you were right, he said. And because I'm complicit in letting my wife treat your son that way. I should have said something. Many times. But it was always easier to stay quiet. Gabriel came back with 3 different yogurts. Mom, which one do you want? Anyone is fine, love, I said, messing up his hair. Bruno looked at Gabriel. Hi, Gabriel. Do you remember me? Gabriel looked up, recognizing him. Hi, Uncle Bruno. I heard you went to Disney. How was it? Gabriel's eyes lit up. It was amazing. We rode all the roller coasters and I met Spider-Man and we ate churros every day and... Sounds like it was really cool, Bruno said, smiling genuinely. You deserved it. Gabriel smiled and went back to looking at the yogurts. Bruno looked at me. Mariana isn't going to change, Anna. You know that, right? I know. But I wanted you to know that not everyone in the family thinks you're wrong. Some of us just aren't brave enough to say it out loud. Thank you, Bruno, I said, and it was sincere. He waved and continued with his cart. I stood there processing. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't a victory. But it was something. It was validation that I wasn't crazy, that I hadn't imagined years of unequal treatment. June brought the real confrontation. My father called me. I almost didn't answer, but something told me I should. Anna, he said, his voice heavy. I need to talk to you. In person. About what? Your mother is in the hospital. My heart raced. What? What happened? Nothing serious, he said quickly. High blood pressure. Stress. But the doctors said she needs to reduce tension. And she's obsessed with this fight between you and Mariana. She can't stop thinking about it. Dad, I'm sorry she's not well. But that's not my fault. I'm not saying it is, he said, and there was something different in his voice. Tiredness, maybe. I'm saying I need to understand. What really happened? Because your mother tells me one version, Mariana tells me another, and I'm in the middle not knowing who to believe. You want the truth? I asked. Yes. Then come here. Alone. No mom, no Mariana. Just you. He came the following afternoon. I made coffee. Gabriel was at a friend's house, so it was just the two of us. My father sat in the same chair where my mother had sat months before. But he seemed smaller. Older. Tired. Tell me, he said. So I told him. Everything. The 3 years paying the salon rent. The unequal gifts. The forgotten outings. The photos where Gabriel didn't appear. The way Mariana always referred to him as Anna's son and never as my nephew. And finally, Sophia's birthday. The toys. The public humiliation. My father was quiet during the whole story. When I finished, he was looking at the coffee cup in his hands, his shoulders curved. I didn't realize, he finally said. Or maybe I didn't want to realize. Dad, you forgot his birthday. Completely. While charging me money for gifts for everyone. He closed his eyes. You're right. I blinked. What? You're right, Anna. He looked up. We failed you. And we failed Gabriel. I failed as a grandfather. I saw the differences in treatment and pretended it wasn't happening. Because it was easier. Because Mariana was always more present. More part of the routine. And you were always more independent. I was independent because I had to be, I said, my voice breaking. Because when Raphael left, you weren't there. I raised Gabriel alone. And still, I kept trying. Kept paying, kept showing up, kept hoping you would see us. Include us for real. I know. He ran his hand over his face. And you shouldn't have to pay to be part of the family. That was wrong. And I'm sorry. Tears ran down my face. They weren't tears of anger. They were of relief. Of finally being heard. What does Mom think? I asked, wiping the tears. Your mother is stuck in Mariana's version. Where you're the villain who abandoned the family out of pride. I tried to talk to her, but... He sighed. She doesn't want to listen. And you? I want to fix this, he said. If you'll let me. Not with money, not with empty promises. But for real. I want to get to know my grandson. I want him to know he has a grandfather who cares. Dad. My voice failed. I understand if you say no, he continued. I understand if you don't trust me. But I'm asking for a chance. A real chance. I looked at him. My father, who had always been distant, always more interested in work and soccer than in deep conversations. But there he was, vulnerable, honest. You're going to have to prove it, I said. Not with words. With actions. I will, he promised. And slowly, he began to prove it. The following weeks, my father showed up. For real. He picked Gabriel up from school when I was swamped with a project with a tight deadline. He took Gabriel for ice cream. To ride bicycles in the park. He showed up at the apartment with pizza and watched superhero movies that he clearly didn't understand, but pretended to be interested. Gabriel was suspicious at first. Why is Grandpa coming here so much? He asked one night. Because he's learning to be a better grandfather, I said. He wasn't a grandfather before? He was. But he wasn't a good grandfather. Now he's trying to be. Okay. I like him more now, Gabriel said, and went back to the drawing he was making. My father didn't bring my mother. He didn't bring Mariana. He didn't try to force reconciliation. He just built a relationship with Gabriel. From scratch. The right way. In July, he showed up with a gift. A bicycle. New. The right size. With a matching helmet. Sorry it took so long, he said to Gabriel. You deserved this years ago. Gabriel looked at the bicycle, then at me, then at his grandfather. For real? Is it mine? It's yours. Gabriel hugged my father. And my father, this man who had always been so reserved with affection, hugged back. Tight. Mariana, on the other hand, doubled down on the victim narrative. She created a long post on Facebook in August. I only knew about it because Juliana sent me a screenshot. Mariana. It's sad when family turns their back on you in difficult times. When you lose everything because someone decides you don't deserve help. But God has been showing me who really cares. Thank you to everyone who stood by our side. The real ones are revealed in adversity. Red heart, folded hands, #family, #faith, #overcoming. Juliana sent along with it, she's making you the villain. Do you want me to comment something? I replied, no. Leave it. Whoever knows the truth knows. The rest doesn't matter. But apparently, not everyone was buying Mariana's narrative. My Aunt Celia, my mother's sister, always been a bit of a gossip but fair, commented on the post. Mari, you were paid for 3 years. Maybe it's time to take responsibility for your own business instead of blaming those who got tired of funding everything. Just a thought. Woman shrugging. The post was deleted an hour later. September brought the real revenge. But it wasn't planned by me. I was working at home when I received a call from an unknown number. Hello. Anna? It's Patricia. Do you remember me? Patricia. The employee Mariana had fired from the salon. Hi, Patricia. Yes, of course. How are you? I'm fine. Look, I know you're not talking to each other, but I thought you'd like to know something. What? Your sister's salon. She didn't close because you stopped paying the rent. I frowned. No. She closed because she was embezzling money. I discovered it by accident when I still worked there. She charged clients in cash and didn't declare it. Pocketed everything. Her accountant found out and warned her she was going to have problems with the IRS if she continued. She fired me because I commented that this was wrong. My stomach turned. Seriously. And there's more. She always had money to pay the rent, Anna. Bruno does well with the gyms. She just liked using your money because it left more for her to spend on other things. Clothes, restaurants, trips. Her Instagram is full of expensive photos. While she cried poverty to you. I was silent, processing. I just thought you should know, Patricia continued. Because she's making you the villain, when in reality, you were used. Thank you for telling me, I said, my voice weak. You're welcome. And Anna? You did the right thing. In everything. When I hung up, I sat on the sofa stunned. It wasn't a surprise deep down. But it hurt anyway. To confirm that Mariana not only used me, but brazenly lied about needing the money. Juliana called that night. Did you see what happened? I saw what? Mariana's salon closed for good. But not for lack of money. The IRS went there. Seized documents. There's an inspection sign on the door. The clients are commenting in the neighborhood group. I didn't say anything. Anna, did you know? Patricia told me today. About the embezzlement. Juliana whistled low. Karma is real, huh? It wasn't karma, I said. It was consequence. Of years doing wrong things thinking she wouldn't get caught. Your mom is freaking out. Saying it's your fault for having destabilized Mariana. I laughed. I couldn't help it. Of course it's my fault. Everything is. Are you going to say anything? Publicly. No, I said. I don't need to. The truth already came out on its own. And I have more important things to do. Like taking my son to ride bikes with his grandfather tomorrow. October arrived and with it, preparations for Christmas. Juliana confirmed she would come. My father asked if he could come too. I said yes, but made it clear, if you bring Mom or Mariana, the door doesn't open. I know, he said. Just me. I promise. I bought a small tree. Gabriel decorated it with ornaments we made together. Painted papier-mâché balls, cardboard stars with glitter. Nothing matching. Everything imperfect, everything perfect. On December 20th, my mother tried one last card. She showed up at the door, this time with Mariana in tow. I opened the door but didn't let them in. Anna, please, my mother began. It's Christmas. Family needs to be together. You're not my family, I said calmly. Family doesn't humiliate children. Family doesn't use. Family doesn't lie. I never lied to you, Mariana said, her eyes red. But there was anger there, not sadness. You lied about needing the money, I said. About being broke. While you embezzled money from clients and spent it on luxuries. Patricia told me everything, Mariana. And the IRS knows too. She went pale. You just wanted my money because it was easier. Because it left more for you to burn. And when I said no, you decided to punish me. Punish my son. And now you're paying the price for your own choices. Anna. No, I interrupted. It's over. You no longer have access to me. To Gabriel. To our money. To our peace. It's over. My mother started crying. You're going to regret this. Turning your back on family. I already have a family, I said, and I waved inside where Gabriel and my father were in the living room, building a complicated Lego set together, laughing at some inside joke. And it's better than anything you offered. I closed the door. I heard them leaving. My mother sobbing. Mariana grumbling. And I felt nothing but relief. Christmas was small. Just me, Gabriel, my father, and Juliana. The table was set with plates of different patterns because I didn't have a complete set. The decoration was homemade. The food was a bit burned in some spots because I'm not an amazing chef. But there was laughter. There was peace. There was genuine love. Gabriel made a drawing for each of us. For me, a giant heart with best mom in the world. For Grandpa, the two of them riding bikes. For Juliana, a cat, because she had 3. My father brought appropriate gifts this time. A professional drawing kit for Gabriel. An experience voucher for the two of them to go to the movies together. Nothing extravagant, but thoughtful. Real. Juliana brought a photo album she had put together, all the photos of Gabriel she could find over the years, plus some new ones from Disney. So he always remembers he was loved. And seen, she said. When dinner was ready, I placed 2 empty plates at the end of the table. Who are those for? Gabriel asked. For the people who chose not to be here, I said. To remember that love is a choice. And that sometimes choosing yourself and who really matters is the wisest decision. Gabriel looked at the plates for a moment, then nodded. Okay, but ours are pretty full, right? They are, love, I said, messing up his hair. They're very full. My father raised his glass. A toast. To new beginnings. To doing the right thing, even if late. To Gabriel, who deserves all the love in the world. And to Anna, who had the courage to prioritize what really matters. We toasted. The sound of glasses touching echoed through the small room. And to the absent ones, Juliana asked, looking at the empty plates. To the absent ones, I said, may they find peace in their choices. As I found in mine. Epilogue 1 year later. It's December again. Gabriel is 9 years old now. He's taller, more confident. He still loves Spider-Man, but now he also loves Harry Potter because we read all the books together. My father is a constant presence. He and Gabriel have a Saturday ritual. They ride bikes, have ice cream, sometimes go to the movies. My father shows up at all the school presentations. He remembers all birthdays. He sends photos to Gabriel during the week with captions like, I saw this and thought of you. Juliana became a real friend. She comes to visit at least once a month. Gabriel calls her real Aunt Julie. I haven't spoken to Mariana anymore. Or my mother. Sometimes I see posts on Facebook through mutual friends. Mariana opened a beauty space at home. Smaller, more modest. My mother posts photos of the grandchildren. Only Sophia and Theo. As it always was. It doesn't hurt anymore. It just became a fact. Like saying the sky is blue. This year, Gabriel and I went back to Disney. This time we took my father and Juliana. It was different from the first time. Less about escaping pain, more about celebrating what we built. On the last night, sitting in front of the castle waiting for the fireworks, Gabriel turned to me. Mom, do you regret it? Fighting with Grandma and Aunt Mariana. I looked at him. My beautiful, intelligent, loved son, who now knows his own worth. Who doesn't accept crumbs. Who understands that love is action, not words. No, love, I said. I didn't fight with them. I just chose you. And I would choose again. Always. I choose you too, he said, resting his head on my shoulder. My father, sitting on the other side of Gabriel, reached out and squeezed mine. His eyes were watery. "I choose you too," he said. The fireworks started. They exploded in the sky in bright colors. Gabriel screamed with joy. Juliana took 1,000 photos. My father held Gabriel on his shoulders so he could see better. And I realized, revenge wasn't destroying my sister. It wasn't exposing my mother. It wasn't posting truths on social media. Revenge was this. It was building a life so good, so full of true love, that theirs seemed empty in comparison. It was Gabriel growing up knowing his own worth, never accepting less than he deserves. It was me learning to put my son first, always, without guilt. It was choosing peace instead of performance, truth instead of tradition, real love instead of family obligation. When we got home that night, Gabriel fell asleep in the car. My father carried him to the apartment, put him in bed carefully, adjusted the blanket. "Thank you," I said to him at the door. "For what?" "For choosing to try. For choosing to be better. For choosing him." "Thank you," he said. "For not giving up on the idea that I could be better. And for giving me the chance to prove it." After he left, I stood in Gabriel's bedroom doorway, watching my son sleep. The Stitch plushie still on the pillow. Disney photos on the wall. Drawings of him and Grandpa on the fridge. My phone vibrated. A message from a number I hadn't blocked because it had never contacted me before. Mariana had created a new number. Unknown number. "You and Anna. Happy now. You destroyed my life. Alienated our parents. Turned everyone against me. I hope it's worth it sleeping alone with your bitterness." I looked at the message. Then at Gabriel sleeping. At the photos on the wall. At the life we built. And I deleted the message without responding. Because she didn't understand. She never would. It wasn't about her. It never was. It was about an 8-year-old boy who was pushed away from a box of toys and learned he didn't belong. And a mother who decided that her son would always, always, always belong. In his own life. In his own spaces. And that no amount of money, family tradition, or social pressure would be worth more than that. I blocked the new number. And I went to sleep. Because tomorrow, Gabriel and I were going to make cookies. My father was going to come help. Juliana was going to call to tell us about the new cat she just adopted. And our little family's strange, patched together, imperfect, but true was going to continue being exactly what it should always have been. Home. If this story touched you in some way, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more stories of overcoming injustice. Your comments and support make all the difference for other people who may be going through similar situations. Until the next story.